May these images and words be the map that guides your journey, revealing paths of love and understanding.
What type of food we should eat so that our life reaches its full potential for a college or a school-going student?
So what kind of food? We must understand this. Food is not a religion. Food is not a culture. Food is just the fuel for this machine. Yes? There may be cultural aspects to the tastes. There may be even religious tinge to the food over a period of time. But essentially, food is fuel for this body. So with what kind of food will it function with minimum struggle within itself and maximum impact? So suppose you buy a petrol car and pump diesel into it, it may still roll around but not at its optimum. Similarly, various foods you can eat and still somehow it functions. But those communities which have eaten with care, you can clearly see a distinct difference in the way they function, the levels of intelligence and whatever. So in India, we prescribed food for different people in different way. If you're doing menial jobs, you eat one way because you need physical muscle. If you're doing other kinds of trading and other kinds of activities, you eat another way. If you're a fighting class, you eat differently. And now if you're into education, spiritual process and subtler aspects of life, then you eat differently. If you are in education, one of the greatest challenges is to stay focused on something. The goddamn textbook. The wonderful textbook that is written for an average intelligence. It's a common prescription. It's not written for the brilliant student. It is written in a way that it's a common prescription, everybody gets it. But that textbook, how much effort it is taking for a whole lot of people? How they have to read it 10 times to get it? But you lie down in your bed and read a love story, you remember every word. Yes or no? How come? So you don't lack memory, you don't lack focus. It is just that textbook and you chemistry is not working. So what you need is a higher level of focus, a higher level of involvement. And another great enemy for a student is, because this textbook is such a tranquilizer, the moment you open it, go to cinema till 2 a.m. you're up, open the textbook at 9 o'clock, right there, you smash into it. So sleep is another big enemy. So what kind of food do you eat so there is no inertia in the body? In yogic way of seeing things, we are looking at tamas, rajas and sattva. Tamas means inertia. Rajas means activity but no balance. Sattva means absolutely balanced kind of energy. When you're in education, you need a very balanced kind of energy because you have to focus on something which doesn't naturally interest you. It's not something with which your chemistry is gelling. If your chemistry is gelling, you are always focused on that one, isn't it? Here there's no chemistry, but you have to focus on that. For this you need a balance and a steady mind. For this you need to eat in a certain way. To put it very simply, food goes through your body through the alimentary canal. From your mouth to your anal outlet, there is a pipe. Through this it runs, going through various stages of digestive process. Many of you are biology people, right? So, it goes through the alimentary canal. Now it begins with the lip. Here, if you look at this, all the herbivores and carnivores. If you look at the animal kingdom, there are herbivores and carnivores are two main segments of animals in the world. One eats vegetable matter, another eats meat. If you look at the alimentary canal, the way it is built, Between herbivores and carnivores, there's a distinct difference. Everything in the human being suggests that you are naturally a herbivore, but for the sake of survival, we became carnivores. If you look at the jaw movement, all the carnivorous animals have only cutting action. Herbivores have cutting and grinding action. There are molars, but carnivores don't have widespread molars, they have just incisors, canines, and everything looks like cutting teeth. So they do only this. All the herbivores do grinding. What do you have? Both. So you are supposed to chew your food. Why you are supposed to chew your food is you have enzymes in your saliva where if you take a little bit of raw rice and put it in your mouth just for a minute, you will see it turn sweet right here, because right here carbohydrate is being converted into sugar, right here. So if you eat properly, then we say about 30 to 50% of your digestion should happen in your mouth. So this part of the digestive system is expecting half-digested food or partially digested food. But right now the way we're eating is mostly we're putting not only undigested food, but partially destroyed food. So the amount of food that you need to get the same amount of energy has increased. You are eating much more food than what you should eat to generate that much of energy. Because of that, there is inertia in the body, because it has to process so much more food than what it should, there is inertia. Once there is inertia, your sleep quota increases. How many hours do you sleep on? Hello? 8 hours. You're going with a prescription, huh? See, this is not that you must deny yourself sleep, that's not the point. But if you eat right and do a certain things with your body, you see very effortlessly, within 3 to 4 weeks, you can drop your sleep quota anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. 1.5 to 3 hours very easily you can drop if you just eat consciously and just learn to sit properly, just the posture, your geometry of the body and what goes into the system. If you just manage these two things, you will see sleep quota will just come down like that. Just to tell you, for over 25 years, I have largely managed with an average of 2.5 hours of sleep. Now I'm getting lazy and I'm sleeping, averaging somewhere around 4.5 hours now, but 7 days of the week, okay? 365 days, non-stop, on, almost every day. My daughter didn't call me for a month. I asked, what the hell is the problem with you? Why are you not calling? She said, every 6 hours you're in the new city, what the hell I'm supposed to do? So I said, okay, which is true. In one day, sometimes we're doing 3 cities, so it's a non-stop activity. And today, many people around me have learned to do this. Over 100, 150 people around me are doing this kind of activity, averaging 4 hours sleep and 7 days of the week, they're on, all the time. And they are not irritated, they are not frustrated, they're joyful and they're wonderful. Why this is this? There are many aspects to this, but one important aspect is food, how you eat. Not only what you eat, how you eat is also very important, because food is a live thing. One simple thing all you girls can do is just see various health issues and inertia issue, focus issue, just bring 40 to 50% of the food in its raw form, that means it's alive. It must be a live cell, it can be a vegetable, it can be a fruit, it can be a nut, it can be sprouted gram. At least 40 to 50%, the food that you eat must be alive. You eat dead food and you want to live, this is a little difficult thing to do, because you have to raise the dead now. But if you eat live food, one thing you will see is the state of your mind, your focus and your sleep quotas, and above all, staying awake is not good enough, you have to stay alert, isn't it? How alert you are, how focused you are, only to that extent everything yields to you in this world, isn't it so? What is the level of focus will determine whether the world yields to you or not, isn't it? And one more aspect of life, one more aspect of food is, When you consume something, it must be of a simple genetic code, in the sense, it must be a very simple software. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, sprouts, they're very simple. More complicated means animal food becomes more and more complicated. Suppose you eat an animal which has some amount of emotion and a life of its own. Now the code in that… we were talking about this, your body is just an accumulation of memory, which means a certain software, isn't it? This is the most complex software. Human software is the most complex software on the planet of all the creatures. So if you eat an animal, particularly a mammal, if you eat, it has a similar kind of complexity, maybe not as complex as this, similar level of complexity because it has thought and emotion of its own. Now for you to break that code and integrate it into your system, you are not fully successful, so it will leave traces of certain qualities within you. You cannot break that code and make it a part of yours because it's a different and complex code. If you eat a leaf, a vegetable, a fruit, a nut or a sprout, this is much simpler. If you must eat non-vegetarian food, you must eat that which is furthest away from you. So generally, fish and water life is furthest away from you. So if you must eat non-vegetarian food, the best thing to eat is, you're on the coast. Fish is the best thing to eat that way. We must understand this, engineering means essentially to make things happen the way we want it. That's engineering, isn't it? To engineer this building means what? We want it the way we want it. We could have sat under a tree, but we choose to build this building because we want to sit under something engineered the way we want it, as suitable for us. We air conditioned the place because we want the temperature in a certain way. All this we did, but is it not important that you engineer this the way you want it? Hello? Outside is air conditioned, inside is boiling, what's the point? I'm saying power is being wasted on you. In the last 150 years, with the advent of science and technology, we have more comforts and conveniences than any generation ever could imagine, isn't it? Yes or no? You have more comforts and conveniences than any generation could ever imagine. We are the most comfortable generation ever, physically, materially. But can you say, are you the most peaceful generation? Joyful? Loving? No. Or can you even say you're the most intelligent generation? That'll be a wrong thing to say. Anybody who claims he is intelligent amounts to foolishness, isn't it? Because the significance of intelligence is, it shows you how many loopholes are there in your intelligence. Only a fool thinks there are no loopholes. A truly intelligent person always sees how many loopholes in my intelligence. The significance of being in a technological institute is not about just getting qualified to get some job somewhere or a passport out of the country. It should become a way of creating life, making life happen better than the way it's happening right now, because this is a fundamental responsibility that we have as a generation of people, because we occupy this space on the planet for a short, brief time. When the last generation gave this planet to us, whichever way they gave it, it's our business that when we leave it little better than the way we had it. Very important. How better? In what way better? You can decide that. I won't say only ecologically better, but in every way better. It must be better than the way we got it. This means we have to engineer ourselves to fit in such a way. See, a well-engineered machine means least amount of friction, isn't it so? Yes? A well-engineered machine means what? Least amount of friction. Heavy friction means badly engineered, isn't it? Isn't that the understanding? So the fundamentals of yoga is this. The fundamentals of yoga is in the geometry of physical existence. If you understand the geometry of what this human mechanism is, the body is, the psychological structure is, the chemical processes are, the energy structures are, if you understand the geometry of this and become capable of observing the cosmic geometry, if these two things are well aligned, suddenly your life hits off like a magic. Your life is no more a miserable drag, but it's magical simply because you have gotten the right geometry of things. Anything that is geometrically perfect will function absolutely smoothly and for a very long time. This is something that you must do to yourself when you're young. It doesn't matter what you want to do in your life. One thing must happen, your body and your brain should not come in your way. They must work for you. Yes or no? Hello? Never your body and your mind should not come in the way of who you want to be. Right now for most people, they themselves are a big issue. When you are an issue, how will you address the issues in the world? If you really want to address the issues in the world, this one should never be an issue, isn't it? I am not the issue here, I am never the problem. If there are problems, I will deal with it, but I am never the problem. This must happen to you, isn't it? Please make yourself like this, that you are never the problem. You're always a part of the solution, never a part of the problem. Right now, right now we have developed a certain attitude in the country, a whole lot of people, for every solution they invent a problem. For every solution they have found a problem. So there are people who are working for problems, there are people who are working for solutions. Young people should stand up and become a solution for future generations to come and your own life to blossom. Because the greatest fulfillment in one's life is that you function in such a way that you could do something which is much larger than yourself. This must happen. This is the highest fulfillment of activity, that you are able to do something which is larger than yourself. Only then you will see fulfillment in activity. Activity is one thing, but most important thing is how you are. People come to me like, right now you're all saying your IIT is the problem, so I'm inviting you to IYC, Isha Yoga Center. Lot of people come to me and say, Sadhguru, these are people who passed out, okay? Sadhguru, my mother-in-law, she's another, you know, from somewhere else she is. I just don't know how to live with this person. And my husband, after all, her son. My wife, impossible. My boss, he's not even human. Like this it goes on. Then I tell them, see, don't worry. Your husband, wife, mother-in-law, boss, nobody will come here, you're protected. Like IIT. Your IYC also well protected. Nobody will come here, you just come and stay. I'll give you a nice place to stay, food is good. You don't have to do anything, just be joyful, that's all. None of these tormentors are there. Just be joyful. 24 hours you leave them in the one room, you must see in how many ways they twist themselves out. When you're alone, if you're miserable, you're obviously in bad company, isn't it? So all the young people should do this to yourself. At least for 3 days, 1 week, I will provide you the atmosphere, otherwise you can walk into the Himalayas. But there is no food and supply, you know, you will have to go searching. I will provide you food, everything. Just come, spend some time, not with any purpose, simply. If you sit alone for 3 days, no television, no book, no texting, simply by yourself. Let's see what happens. You must know the nature of who you are. You should not go on dodging yourself and one day you will explode into something. You must know what is the level of madness you're suffering. When I say madness, if your mind is out of your control, is that called madness in definition? Hello? If your mind does not take instructions from you, it's out of control, is that called madness? Just try. Just today after this event, just go sit quietly in your room. Just see what all your mind does. You decide, don't tell anybody. You decide what is the level of madness you're going through. With this, if you enter the world, what will you create? You will only create who you are, isn't it? You cannot do anything other than what you are. What you are is what will happen to the world around you. Before you step out into the world, is it not important, at least you're this much equipped that you are not the problem? If you meet a problem and get married, we'll see. But you are not the problem. Can you make this happen for yourself as young people, that you are never the problem? You are not the issue in your life. Other issues, if they come, we will deal with it to the best of our ability, but this should not be an issue, isn't it? This can be easily done, very simple processes. If you invest on 20–30 minutes a day, you can bring this possibility into your life. It is just that it needs a certain orientation. Because life is continuously outward. To turn inward, it needs a certain help and situation has to be created to make that happen. We are very much willing to do that with you. It's my wish and my blessing, this must happen to every youth of this country, because India, the people of India has suffered immensely. I don't know to what extent all of you are exposed, many of you are from good families. I have walked through rural societies right from my, early youth. It's not good, believe me. It's just not good, it's not some idyllic situation out there. It is bad. It's very bad. In most parts of the world, where we are, they say they are the better off states. The better off states are like that. I know the Bimarus, how they are. We can't just live like this. We can't just continue to live like this, insulating our humanity and thinking everything is okay. It's time we have a living humanity, that our heart beats for everything, our heart bleeds for everything, and we will do the best we can do. In our lives, if we do not do what we cannot do, there's no problem. But if we do not do what we can do, we are a disastrous life, isn't it? It's my wish and my blessing, you should not be that disaster.
We hope this video has been a source of inspiration for you. Be sure to check out our other content and share your wisdom with the world.